As we start our show this morning at the 2025 Colorado State Fair, I want to introduce you to our judge in Ring A. Her name is Miss Ashley Burton. She is from Brookville, Indiana. That's actually about 40 minutes north of Cincinnati. In her real life, she's a testing administrator for the Army. This is her third year as an ADGA judge. She was a 10-year 4-H'er. Now she has two 4-H'ers of her own, and she volunteers as the goat superintendent in her county. She raises Nigerian dwarfs and has between 70 and 80 animals. How about a warm Colorado welcome for Miss Ashley Burton?
Okay, so we're starting out with two very stylish La Mancha yearling milkers. One is placing over 2 an advantage today in general appearance. This doe is smoother at the point of shoulder. She's straighter in the front leg. She's more level over the loin than the doe standing behind her. When you're coming to the mammary system, she has an advantage with teats that are more delineated from the teats showing more delineation, also more properly placed teats. She's yielding to the cleanness about the pole of the doe standing here in 2. Really nice overall area of attachment on the second place doe. I think she's probably showing more width at the top of her rear udder, so she's to be commended for that.
Okay, and our La Mancha does 1 year but under 2. First place with first place udder, entry 1394. Albach Ranch KK Cinnamon 2 is the goat's name. Jerome Wheeler of Westcliff, Colorado, the exhibitor. Second place with second place udder, entry 1300. Sweet Bee's Butterscotch Swirl, exhibited by Aaron Cornett. We move now to our La Mancha does 2 to under 3 years old.
Okay, so this is our class of La Mancha 2-year-old milkers. Two really strong does here at the head of the class. Some trade-offs between them, ultimately going with 1/2 for an advantage today in mammary system. You're seeing teats placed more correctly on the floor of the udder, pointing correctly downwards than the doe here in 2. Also an advantage in general appearance, a little more angulation through the rear leg and smoother from the neck down into the withers than the doe here in 2. 2/3 for an advantage in her turn and mammary system. When you come to the fore udder of this doe, you're seeing more overall area of attachment in the fore udder. Not as capacious as the doe standing behind her, but a mammary system that's held higher above the hocks, more overall area of attachment in that mammary. Also an advantage in general appearance here. She's smoother at the point of shoulder. She's tighter at the point of elbow than the doe standing here in 3. She's standing on a stronger set of pasterns with tighter toes than the doe in 3rd. 3/4 in her turn for an advantage in mammary system. When you come to the teats pointing more correctly downwards, showing a mammary that's more uniformly deep and wide than the doe standing here in 4th. When you come to 4/5, she has an advantage here in general appearance. When you're looking at the back, you're seeing more length over the back and the loin, the chine. She's more uphill from the hips up to the withers. She has an advantage in body capacity as well, showing more length to the barrel than the doe here in 5. Really appreciate that's the tremendous capacity that this 5th place doe is showing us in that fore udder. Very, very productive, and I appreciate that about her.
In our La Mancha 2 to under 3-year-old class, first place with first place udder, entry 1395, Nubelop Acres ES Wonder Woman, exhibited by Jerome Wheeler. Second place with second place udder, entry 1391, Tool Creek HM Dream Jennifer, exhibited by Jerome Wheeler. Third place, entry 1453, Sandstone Ridge SK Ivory, exhibited by Paisley Hastings. Fourth place, entry 1454, Sweet Bees Righteous, exhibited by Paisley Hastings. And fifth place, entry 1445, Sweet Bees Rain, exhibited by Davany Hastings. We move now to our does 4 to under 5 years old.
Okay, so we have a single entry here representing our 4-year-old La Mancha milkers. A doe who I really appreciate the general appearance on her when you're looking at her front end. Really strong and deep into the brisket, like that extension that you see in the brisket. Mammary system-wise, a lot of overall area of attachment in the rear and the fore. A really balanced mammary, both in front and behind the leg. So really appreciate the height that she's holding it. She's holding it nicely above her hock. So really balanced doe here.
In the A ring, first place in our does 4 to under 5 years old with first place udder, entry 1434, Sweet Bees Natasha, exhibited by Aaron Cornett.
Okay, so there's a close pair here at the top of this group. I am ultimately going with 1/2 for an advantage today in mammary system. Looking at this mammary from behind, you're seeing she's more uniformly deep and wide than the doe standing here in 2, with teats more correctly pointing downward. She also has an advantage in mammary system balance, both in front and behind the leg than the doe here in 2, with an advantage in capacity when you come to the rear udder over this second place doe. This doe has an advantage in general appearance. She's wider and she's longer over the rump than our second place doe. When it comes to just general body capacity and length, there's a real powerhouse doe here at the top of the line. She's longer in her barrel than the doe here in 2. 2/3 in her turn for an advantage in mammary system. A doe showing more balance and symmetry between the 2 mammary system halves than the doe here in 3, although she's yielding to the capacity of that third place doe. She has teats of a more ideal shape, size, and delineation than our third place doe. An advantage here in general appearance. She's tighter at the elbow. She's smoother at the point of shoulder and smoother over the back when you're looking at the dorsal processes. Doe here in third. Really appreciate the production going on this doe. Tremendous capacity in that rear end for. She's very dairy. She's very sharp and angular. You can see that angle to the rear rib on this doe. So really appreciate that about her.
Now La Mancha does 5 years and older class, first place with first place udder. Entry 1418, Argonne's Cayenne, exhibited by Nicole McChesney. Second place with second place udder. Entry 1301, Sweet Bees Manishka, exhibited by Aaron Cornett. And third place, entry 1445, Sweet Bees Marita Panda, exhibited by Davany Hastings.
We have a really nice show of La Manchas today. We have this age doe here at the top of the line. This is a 5-year-old doe. She's holding up really well. Just a tremendously powerful and wide doe. And then when you're looking at the mammary system, she's producing a really good amount of milk. Appreciate that capacity in the rear and the fore on her. Doe right behind her. General appearance really strong on this doe. Appreciate that the moderate rise up into the withers, that extension to the brisket, the straightness in the rear legs from hock to pastern. 2-year-old doe. This doe has a beautiful shape to her mammary system. Not the most capacious. She's a young doe, but when you're looking at how uniformly deep and wide she is from behind, the overall area of attachment, the placement, and the shape of the teats, just a doe to really be excited about. And then much in the same strain, this yearling doe. Beautiful shape to this mammary system. I think she looks very appropriate for a yearling. She's very leggy. She's very open. So I think she has a ton of potential in these 2 younger does. However, when we have an older doe here at the top of the line that's holding up so well, she excels the entire group when it comes to body capacity. She's longer in the barrel. She has the most capacity in the mammary system of the does in this lineup. So we are going to go with the older doe here at the top of the line. She's going to be our champion today. Okay, so we bring that second place 5-year-old into the lineup, a doe who is smaller but very balanced. Not quite as uniformly deep and wide in that mammary system as the doe that just stepped out, but I do prefer the placement of the front legs on this doe. When it comes to this lineup, I think all of these does have a beautiful shape to their mammary system. But when you're looking at the balance in front and behind the leg, she's showing a more balanced view of that mammary with that extension that she has in the foreudder. General appearance wise, she's holding up very, very well. Just a very strong doe when it comes to general appearance. She's more level in the chine over some of our younger does here in this lineup. And with that balance to the mammary, we are going to stay in that class and use her as our reserve.
Senior champion today for the La Mancha breed. The 2025 Colorado State Fair came out of the does 5 years and older. Entry 1418, Argones Coyote is the goat's name. Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado is the exhibitor. Nicole, congratulations. The reserve grand champion came out of that same class. It was entry 1301. Sweet Bees Manishka is the goat's name. Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado is the exhibitor. Aaron, congratulations to you. We'll check some animal identification here, and then we do have a challenger for the title of Best of Breed for the La Mancha breed this morning.
Okay, so we have a 6-year-old challenger that joined us, and when you're looking at the height of this mammary system on this doe, tremendous height to that rear udder. However, we are going to stick with our champion of the day, and it's because of her advantage in general appearance. This doe standing on a stronger set of pasterns than the doe standing behind her. She's longer over the back, showing more levelness in the back and more ideal slope to the rump from hips to pins than the doe standing here in 2. Mammary system wise, she's yielding to the height of the rear udder of the doe standing behind her, but she's more balanced both in front and behind the leg with more capacity in the rear udder. She's also more uniformly deep and wide when you view her from behind. Beautiful attachments on this doe's mammary. Really love that height that you see in the rear udder on her.
The best of breed animal today was the senior grand champion out of the does 5 years and older. Again, that was entry 1418, Argones Coyote, exhibited by Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado. Once again, Nicole, congratulations. Second place was the challenger, Bold Relic Leote, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado.
Okay, so we have a single entry in our Get of Sire, 3 different dams represented here. And what beautiful consistency in this group, from the aged doe down to the youngest doe. Beautiful rear udders, beautiful height to the rear udder, really nice overall attachments on these mammary systems. Really love the shape, the size, the delineation of the teats on these does, and especially that definition in the cleft that you see in the medial. So really a lot to like about this group. General appearance is also very strong on them.
Senior Get of Sire, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado. We move now to our dairy herd.
Okay, single entry here for our dairy herd. We have our Get of Sire group plus another doe that joined them. Beautiful rear udder attachments, beautiful rear udder height. Not quite the general appearance as the other does in this group, but a very productive, a very, again, efficient doe. You're looking at a 6-year-old doe who's holding up really well. Beautiful attachments in that mammary that are holding up this long. So really appreciate this dairy herd.
Single entry in dairy herd for the La Mancha breed, again exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado. That concludes our La Mancha show for Ring A this morning.
Okay, so starting out our Nigerian milkers, we have 2-year-olds here. Two for an advantage today in general appearance. A doe who levels out more over the back and is more uphill as she moves about the ring. She's standing on a stronger set of pasterns than the doe here in 2. She has an advantage in dairy strength. She's showing more pliability and looseness of skin than the doe in 2nd. When you are looking at the mammary systems of these does, you're seeing a more secure rear udder attachment on 2/3 with more uniform depth and width when viewed from behind than the 2nd place doe. Appreciate the body capacity on this doe. I really like how wide she is. She's wide between her front legs. She's full in the crop. She's wide over the back. Would like to see her with a little more fullness in the rear udder.
This is our class of La Mancha yearling milkers. Closer placing, I think, between the two. There's some trade-offs back and forth. One placing over 2 today, largely for her advantage in the area of general appearance. Strength in feet and legs. You talk about more appropriate angulation in the area of the stifle. Also more correct in the area of the front end assembly. More smoothly blended throughout. Also some advantage in the area of body capacity, being wider in the area of the chest, fuller in the area of the crop over our doe in 2. Not to take away from the strengths that we're seeing in our doe in 2, I appreciate her extension of lateral attachment and dairy strength.
In ring A, starting our Nigerian dwarf show with does 2 to under 3. First place, entry 1177, LZK Acres Smooches, exhibited by Casey Kwong. Second place, entry 1596, Fun in the Sun Stella, exhibited by Rachel Dunbar. Moving to ring B, in our La Mancha breed, does 1 to under 2 years old. First place goes entry 1394, LBOC Ranch KK Cinnamon 2 is the goat's name. Jerome Wheeler is the exhibitor. In second place, entry 1300, Sweet Bees Butterscotch Swirl, exhibited by Aaron Cornett.
Okay, so this is our class of Nigerian 3-year-old milkers. A really strong pair here at the top of the class. Uh, we're ultimately going with 1/2 for an advantage today in mammary system. A doe showing more width to the top of the rear udder. She's more balanced both in front and behind the leg. She's got more capacity in the rear udder than the doe standing here in 2. She's yielding to the medial suspensory definition that we see in the second place doe. Really would love to see this doe with a little more fullness at the top of her rear udder. She has a beautiful shape to the mammary. 1/2 as well, a dairy strength placing. She's a little bit leaner and cleaner about the neck. When you're looking at the flank, she's deeper and more refined than our doe standing here in 2. 2/3 in her turn. An advantage in mammary system, again showing more definition to that medial, showing a little more capacity in that fore udder, again in her turn than the doe standing here in 3. Also an advantage in general appearance. She's showing more levelness in the area of the chine with a more ideal slope to the rump from hips to pins over our 3rd place doe. 3/4 in her turn, a mammary system placing. A doe showing more capacity in this mammary system than our 4th place doe, who is pretty much dry. There's also in a general appearance placing here. When you're watching them walk towards you, 3 is walking straighter on those front toes than our 4th place doe. But really do appreciate the width that we see on this doe. She's nice and wide between those front legs. She's smooth at the point of shoulder. Would like to see her with a little more milk today.
In our Nigerian Dwarf 3 to under 4-year-old class, first place with first place udder, entry 1176, LZK Acres Sugar Toast, exhibited by Casey Kwong. Second place with second place udder, entry 1586, Elmar Acres Virginia Wolf, exhibited by Julia Dunbar. Third place, entry 1593, Stay at Homa's House PB Cupcake, exhibited by Kristen Gates. And fourth place, entry 1592, Stays at Homa's House Hennessy, exhibited by Kristen Gates.
Okay, so we have a single entry here for our 4-year-old Nigerian Dwarf milkers. A really balanced doe. You're looking at the general appearance is really good on her. Appreciate that smoothness in the front end, the length over the top and the chine, the loin. Mammary system, overall area of attachment's really good. Love that height above the hocks on her. I would like to see her a little fuller today, but a very balanced doe again, like I said, when you're looking at body capacity, general appearance, and the overall mammary system attachments.
First place in our Nigerian Dwarf does 4 to under 5, entry 1426, 7R Sisters High Maintenance, exhibited by Jen Dionisio.
This will be our class of 2-year-old La Mancha milkers, one placing over 2 today, largely for her advantage in the area of the mammary system. She will be our first place udder today. Appreciate the extension of fore udder into the body wall, balance when viewed from the side, height and fullness of rear udder and extension of lateral attachment. We're also seeing some advantage here in the area of dairy strength. She is more angular throughout, more open in her ribbing, more angular about the rear rib over our doe in 2. 2 placing over 3, largely for her advantage in the area of general appearance, particularly about the back and rump. She's more nearly level across the back as she moves about the ring, standing more uphill at the withers and the hips, with less tendency to break in the area of the loin. We're also seeing more length from hips to pins, width from thurl to thurl, levelness from thurl to thurl as well, 2/3. Also seeing some advantage in the area of dairy strength, being more open in her ribbing, more angular throughout, more advantage in the area of body capacity as well. Three placing over 4 today, I think closer placing for a few different reasons. We're seeing some trade-offs, but it is for her advantage in the area of the mammary system that she'll place over the La Mancha Doe in 4 today. Seeing more balance when viewed from the side, more height of lateral attachment, more fullness in the area of the rear udder over our Doe in 4. We are also seeing some advantage in the area of dairy strength today, just being slightly more angular over our Doe in 4. 4 over 5 for her advantage in her turn in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing more height, an extension of lateral attachment over our Doe in 5. We're also seeing more fullness between the hocks as well over our Doe in 5, more extension of forudder as well, more balance when viewed from the side when considering capacity and stage of lactation today, more balance between the halves. We're also seeing some advantage again in her turn in the area of dairy strength, not to take away from our Doe in 5. I do appreciate her sharpness at the withers.
In our La Mancha Does 2 to under 3 class, first place with first place udder goes to entry 1454, Sweet Bees Righteous, exhibited by Paisley Hastings. Second place with second place udder, entry 1395, Nubelop Acres ES Wonder Woman, exhibited by Jerome Wheeler. Third place, entry 1445, Sweet Bees Rain, exhibited by Davany Hastings. Fourth place, entry 1391, Tool Creek HM Dream Jennifer, exhibited by Jerome Wheeler. And fifth place, entry 1453, Sandstone Ridge SK Ivory, exhibited by Paisley Hastings. In Ring B, we move now to our La Mancha Does 4 to under 5 years old. And in Ring A, we have our Nigerian Dwarf Does 5 years and over.
It's a single entry 4-year-old fourth freshener. She'll also be our first udder, deserving of her blue ribbon. Appreciate her strength in the area of the mammary system, her height, height of rear udder, fullness of lateral attachment, extension of lateral attachment as well, balance between the halves. Also appreciate some of this balance that we're seeing when viewed from the side, extension of forudder. Also very much appreciate her body capacity, depth at the point of elbow, depth through the rear barrel as well. We talk about this combination of dairy strength and body capacity that results in this wedge that we're looking for, and I think she is doing that quite well for us. So again, very deserving of her first place.
All right, in Ring B, our La Mancha Does 4 to under 5, single entry, first place with first place udder, entry 1434, Sweet Bees Natasha, exhibited by Aaron Cornett. In Ring B, we move to our La Mancha Does 5 years and over.
This is our class of aged does, one placing over 2 today for her advantage in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing more capacity in relation to age and stage of lactation over our doe in 2. We're also seeing some advantage in the area of dairy strength, being more open, more angular throughout, longer body doe over a doe in 2. Advantage in the area of general appearance as well, particularly in the area of the rump. We're seeing more levelness, width from thurl to thurl, length from hips to pins as well. Also appreciate the strength we're seeing in feet and legs today. She is standing on a strong set of pasterns and is appropriately angulated as well from hock to pastern in the area of the stifle over our doe in 2. 2 placing over 3 for her advantage in her turn in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing more balance between the halves today, more extension of lateral attachment as well over our doe in 3. Also more smoothly extended forerudder, which contributes to balance but when viewed from the side. Also seeing an advantage in the area of general appearance in her turn today, particularly in the area of the feet and legs. We're seeing a stronger set of pasterns today. She also treks more correctly forward. She moves about the ring, staying in the area of general appearance as well. In her turn, more advantage in the area of the back and rump, advantage in the area of the front end assembly as well, with forelegs placed more directly beneath the withers while she's on the move and while she's standing. Not to take away from our doe in 3, I do appreciate her dairy strength, particularly her angularity throughout.
Okay, so this is our aged doe class. A really strong pair at the top of this class. Ultimately going with 1 over 2 for an advantage today in mammary system. When you're looking at the rear udder width, this doe has more width to the top of the rear udder than the doe standing here in 2. When you're looking at them from the side, you're seeing more capacity in the rear udder with more of a balance in front and behind the leg than the second place doe. Looking at the general appearance of these does, you're seeing more extension to the brisket in 1 over 2 as well, with more straightness to those front feet. She is yielding to the slope of rump and the smoothness over the dorsal on the back to this second place doe. 2 is placing over 3 for an advantage today in mammary system. This time she's showing more capacity in this forudder than the doe here in 3. An advantage here in general appearance. She's more angulated in the rear legs than our third place doe. She's yielding to the front end of this third place doe, who I think has the best front end in this class. When you're watching them walk towards you, she's got her front legs pulled, right back where they should be, right underneath the withers, giving her some extension to the brisket and some chest wall to lay those shoulders up against. So she's really smooth in that front end as she moves towards you. This is a very balanced doe. No part of her, doesn't fit with any other part. She's placing over the doe behind her in her turn an advantage in mammary system. She's not as capacious as the doe standing behind her, but the mammary system is overall showing more areas of attachment than our doe here in third. In her turn, she's showing a little more angulation in those rear legs down through the hock than our third place doe. Really appreciate the general appearance on this doe. When you're looking over the top, she's full in the crop, she's wide over the loin and the chine. Would like to see her with a little more capacity in that rear udder.
This is our champion lineup for the selection of senior champion La Mancha doe. Starting down here with our yearling milker. Appreciate the promise we're seeing in this doe. Her capacity in relation to age and stage of lactation. Balance when viewed from the side when considering the mammary system. Would just like to see a bit more age and stage of maturity on this doe to be able to compete with these older does standing in front of her today. But I do appreciate her strengths in many respects. Coming up to our 2-year-old doe, appreciate the dairiness on this doe. She's very long, she's level as she moves about the ring. Also appreciate her mammary system, particularly the balance when viewed from the side. Again, would just like to see a bit more age and stage of maturity, a bit more body capacity that will come with age to be more competitive with some of these older does that we see today. Coming up to our 4-year-old doe, appreciate the body capacity on this doe. She has a powerful front end as she moves about the ring while she's standing, extension of brisket, width in the area of the chest. Appreciate her correctness in the area of the front end assembly as well when considering general appearance. Regarding the mammary system, I do appreciate her extension of lateral attachment and her height of rear udder as well, her fullness of rear udder. Coming up to our aged doe, very much appreciate the dairy strength on this doe. She's very long-bodied, very angular. She's really open in her ribbing when you get your hands on her. Also appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance, particularly in the area of the rump. Also appreciate her feet and legs. Being an aged doe, considering her mammary system, I also appreciate her balance when viewed from the side, her extension of forehead, smoothness of blending into the body wall. I appreciate her height and fullness of lateral attachment as well. Of these 4 does, kind of like I think I insinuated a bit, our competition is going to be closest between our 4-year-old doe and our aged doe, because we have a bit more maturity on these does today. We're seeing kind of a combination of body capacity and dairy strength that's kind of come with age and produced a profile that is well established that I appreciate. Between these two, I do feel one has some advantage in the area of dairy strength, just being a bit more longer bodied throughout, a bit more angular throughout. I also think she has an advantage in the area of the mammary system, showing us a bit more capacity today, a bit more smoothness of blending of the forudder, a bit more fullness in the area of the rear udder that contributes to balance when viewed from the side. And so for that reason, our aged doe is going to be our champion today.
Okay, so here's our Nigerian lineup. Starting off with this aged doe, tremendous rear udder width on her. She has very little movement in that mammary as she moves about the ring. Doe right behind her, a 4-year-old doe. Appreciate the general appearance and the body capacity. She's nice and tight at that point of elbow. She's full there in the heart. Doe here, the 3-year-old doe. A really balanced doe. You're looking at the mammary system. Would like to see a little more definition to that medial, but when you're looking at the rear udder width, she's very wide. She's balanced when viewed from the side. And when you put your hands on this forudder, you can see that it attaches to the body wall very correctly. You're feeling that capacity from side to side in that forudder. And then down to our 2-year-old doe. Appreciate, again, the general appearance on this doe. Nice placement to those 4 legs. She levels out over the back very nicely as she moves about the ring. For our champion today, it is really between this aged doe and the 3-year-old doe. Putting your hands on this mammary system, you're feeling more smoothness in the attachment of the 3-year-old. The older doe, when you're looking at them from behind, you're seeing more definition to the medial. And then you're looking at the other things, up into the withers, neck into the withers. I think our 3-year-old's a little bit smoother when you look from the chine into the withers and from the neck into the withers. And for that, advantages in mammary system and the forudder attachment, rear udder width. Has the most capacity in the forudder of any doe in this class. We are going to go with the 3-year-old as the champion today. Okay, so we have that second place 3-year-old in this lineup. A beautiful shape to this mammary system. Would love to see it all the way full today because this is a very strong doe. For our reserve, we are going to go up to the top of the line and use this aged doe, and it's because of the rear udder width. She's showing more width than any other doe in this class.
Closer placing, I think, when we consider the selection of our reserve champion today. We brought out our second place aged La Mancha doe, and while she doesn't have quite the level of dairy strength that we saw, or quite the advantage in the area of mammary system that we saw in our champion, I do very much appreciate her dairy strength. I appreciate her general appearance, particularly in the area of the rump. I also appreciate her mammary system balance when viewed from the side today. When we consider our reserve champion, I think our competition is going to be closest again between our 4-year-old doe and then our aged doe. I do feel our 4-year-old has some advantage in the area of the mammary system. She's a bit more balanced between the halves today. She has a bit more extension of lateral attachment, fullness of lateral attachment over our aged doe. But I do think our aged doe has some advantage in the area of body capacity, and I think she has some advantage in the area of general appearance. When you get a little nitpicky, she's a bit more correct in the area of the back and rump today while you watch her move about the ring. She's also a bit more correct in the area of the feet and legs. She's more correctly angulated from hock to pastern over our 4-year-old doe. And so you kind of get down to points and you go back and forth. And so I do think it is going to be our aged doe that will be reserve champion today. It's for that advantage in the area of body capacity, for that advantage in the area of dairy strength and general appearance.
Okay, catching you up in our Ring A for the Nigerian Dwarf breed, the grand champion and best of breed animal came out of the 3-year-old class. It was entry 1176, LZK Acres Sugar Toast, exhibited by Casey Kwong. Casey, congratulations. The reserve champion for the Nigerian Dwarf breed in Ring A came out of the does 5 years and over. Was entry 1175. 7R Sisters. Miss Piggy is the goat's name. Again, Casey Kwong of Berthoud, Colorado is the exhibitor. Congratulations again, Casey. In Ring B, in the La Mancha breed, our grand champion came out of the does 5 years and over. It was entry 1418. Argonis Coyote, exhibited by Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado. Congratulations, Nicole. And the reserve champion came out of that same class. It was Sweet Bees Manishka, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado. Aaron, congratulations. There is a challenger in the La Mancha breed for the title of best of breed.
We brought out a challenger today for the selection of best of breed La Mancha Senior doe. I appreciate the strength in the area of general appearance we're seeing on this doe about the back and rump. I also appreciate her body capacity, her fullness in the area of the brisket, her width of chest. Regarding the area of the mammary system, appreciate the balance we're seeing when viewed from the side, the balance between the halves when viewed from the rear. However, when I come up to our champion of the day today, I see an advantage in the area of dairy strength today. I'm seeing some advantage in the area of general appearance, particularly about the feet and legs. We talk about strength of pastern. Advantage in the area of body capacity. While I do appreciate the extension of brisket we're seeing on this challenger, I think our champion of the day, more extension of brisket when viewed from the profile, more width of chest, more depth of chest as well over the doe. And then when we consider the area of the mammary system, I think we're seeing a bit more height and extension of lateral attachment. And so for these reasons, we're going to stay with our champion of the day for the selection of best of breed.
Ring B, best of breed, was the grand champion of the day. Entry 1418, Argonis Coyote, exhibited by Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado. Nicole, congratulations once again. Second place in that class was the challenger. Bold Relic Leote is the goat's name. Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado was the exhibitor.
we have a single entry here in this breeders trio group. Really appreciate the rear udders on these does. A beautiful overall area of attachment on these does. Very dairy style does. You see that openness, the angularity throughout. So a lot to like about this group.
In Ring A, Nigerian Dwarf, the breeder's best trio, was exhibited by Jen Dionisio of Pueblo, Colorado.
Okay, so we are um, looking at a 2-year-old Oberhausley milker. This is a single entry, but this is a really balanced doe. She's a first freshener, so I think the capacity reflects that. But overall area of attachment on this mammary system is really good. Appreciate the placement of the teats, that definition to the medial. She's also really strong in general appearance. Love that width and flatness of rump from throat to throat. So a lot to like about this doe.
Starting our Nigerian Dwarf Doe show with our 2-year-old class. One placing over 2 today for her advantage in the area of dairy strength. She's more angular throughout, more open, longer bodied doe over a doe in 2. We're also seeing some advantage in the area of the mammary system today, just more height in the area of the rear udder and a bit more lateral attachment over our doe in 2. We're also seeing a bit more balance when viewed from the side. Just more extension of foreudder over our doe in 2. Not to take away from our doe in 2, I do appreciate her rear leg angulation, particularly in the area of the stifle.
In Ring B, Nigerian Dwarf 2-year-olds, first place, entry 1596, Fun in the Sun Stella, exhibited by Rachel Dunbar. Second place, entry 1177, LZK Acres Smooches, exhibited by Casey Kwong. And in Ring A, Our Oberhausley show started with does 2 years and under 3. First place in the class was 1046 Lazelber's No Name, exhibited by Tony Wells. We move now in ring A to our does 3 to under 4 years old.
This is our class of 3-year-old Nigerian dwarf milkers, 1/2, largely for advantage in the area of the mammary system. We're just seeing a bit more capacity today, a bit more height and fullness in the area of the rear udder over our doe and 2. Fore udder that extends more smoothly into the body wall as well over our doe and 2. Also seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength today, just being a bit more angular and open throughout. Not to take away from our doe and 2, very much appreciate the capacity and the correctness in the area of the mammary system that we're seeing today. She's only 2.5 weeks fresh, so especially in relation to stage of lactation. Also appreciate her strength in the area of the rump, particularly her levelness from thurl to thurl.
Okay, so this is our group of Oberhausley 3-year-old does. One's placing over 2, an advantage in general appearance. She has more extension to the brisket. She has a more ideal slope to the rump from hips to pins. She's straighter from hock to pastern, standing on a straighter set of pasterns than the doe here in 2. Body capacity wise, she's also showing more length over the barrel than our second place doe. 2/3, an advantage in her turn in general appearance. When you're looking at the front end of these does, you're seeing more smoothness at the point of shoulder than the doe standing here in 3. A little more width between the hocks on this doe than our third place doe. And in her turn, we're seeing more depth in the barrel than our doe here in 3. Both those are yielding to the mammary system, and our third place doe is going to have our first place udder, and it's because of the smoothness of the fore udder, a little more height to that rear udder, and teeth pulled a little bit closer in from the legs, pointing a little more correctly downward than the 2 does in front of her. So she's to be commended for that shape to the mammary.
Single entry 4-year-old. We'll see her back out for the selection of champion here in a minute. She'll also be our first place udder. Appreciate the general appearance on this doe, particularly in the area of the back and rump. I appreciate her length from hips to pins, her width from thurl to thurl. Regarding the mammary system, appreciate the balance we're seeing between the halves today and the height of rear udder as well. So again, we'll see her out in a bit.
In ring A, in our Oberhausley does 3 to under 4, first place, entry 1314, Lazelber's Rugmig 4570 Pickles. Second place, entry 1315, Lazelbar Rugback. 1251 Panama, and third place, entry 1316 Lazy Bears Rug VIV. All three of these animals were exhibited by Brittany Prian. And in ring A, in our does 3 to under 4 years old class, first place, entry 1176 LZK Acres Sugar Toast, exhibited by Casey Kwong. And second place, entry 1586 Elmar Acres Virginia Wolf, exhibited by Julia Dunbar. And in our does 4 to under 5, first place went to 1426 7R Sisters High Maintenance, exhibited by Jen Dionisio.
Okay, so we have two 4-year-old Oberhausley milkers here. One over 2, an advantage in general appearance. A doe who has a more ideal slope to the rump. She's smoother from neck into shoulder and from neck into withers than the doe here in 2. She's showing more width between the hocks than our second place doe. She also has an advantage in body capacity, being more deeper into the barrel with more spring of rib, mammary system wise, showing more capacity in that 4 udder than the doe standing here in 2. Would like to commend this doe for the dairy strength that she shows. She's nice and sharp over the withers. She's lean about the neck. She's very incurving about the thigh, so she's to be commended for that.
In ring A in our Oberhausley's 4 to under 5-year-old class, first place is 1317 Lazabers Chant Miss B Nayaya, exhibited by Brittany Prian. And second place, entry 1318 Van Just DM Nayaya, exhibited by Brittany Prian. In ring A, we move to Oberhausley does 5 years and over. In ring B, we have our Nigerian dwarf does 5 years and over.
Okay, so we have our age Oberhausleys here, starting off with a 5 and then a 6-year-old doe. 1 over 2, an advantage today in general appearance. A doe who has a more ideal slope to the rump from hips to pins. A doe who's showing more angulation in those rear legs than the doe standing here in 2. There's also an advantage in mammary system. Although she's yielding to the shape, size, and delineation of teats, she's showing more uniform depth and width to that mammary with more capacity. She also has a more ideal 4 udder attachment with more extension than the doe here in 2. Would like to commend the second place doe for the beautiful shape, size, and placement of teats that she's showing on that mammary today.
In ring A, our Oberhausley does 5 years and over. First place, entry 1319 Lazabers HF Misguided, exhibited by Brittany Prian. Second place, entry 1320, Van Just OBRH La Spediva, exhibited by Brittany Prian.
This is our class of aged Nigerian dwarf does. Closer placings in different places for different reasons. One placing over 2 today, largely for her advantage in the area of the mammary system, particularly when viewed from the profile. She's more balanced when viewed from the side, as she has a forerunner that extends more smoothly into the body wall. While she does yield some in the area of lateral attachment, I do feel she has an advantage in height of rear udder attachment as well, and strength of medial suspensory ligament over our doe and 2. We're also seeing an advantage in the area of general appearance. About the back and rump, we're seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength, being more angular throughout, so that's why she is where she is. 2 over 3, closer placing, I think. Strengths today, 2 over 3 in the areas of the mammary system and the areas of general appearance. Specifically in the area of the mammary system, we see an advantage in the area of rear udder attachment, fullness in the area of the rear udder over our doe and 3. In the area of general appearance, I think we're seeing a bit of an advantage in the area of feet and legs, strength of pastern, and appropriate angulation from hock to pastern as well over 3. But again, closer placing. 3 over 4 for her advantage in her turn in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing more height and extension of lateral attachment, more extension of forerudder that blends more smoothly into the body wall over our doe and 4. We are also seeing some advantage in the area of dairy strength as well, advantage in the area of the rump, being more level from thurl to thurl over our doe and 4. Not to take away from our doe and 4, I do appreciate her strength of pastern.
Okay, so here's our Oberhausley lineup, starting out with this 5-year-old doe. Tremendous length and leanness to this neck. She's got really nice general appearance. When you're looking at the rump, she's very wide between the hocks. Doe right behind her, we have a 4-year-old doe. I think the most capacious mammary in this class. Also, looking at the point of elbow, this doe is more tight. She's tighter at the point of elbow. She's fuller at the point of elbow than any other doe in this lineup. Down to our 3-year-old, a doe who really excels on general appearance. She's very stylish. Enjoyed watching her move about the ring. She's so wide between the hocks. She's so long over the back when you're looking at the chine, the loin, and the rump. Starting out her milking journey, so not a lot of capacity yet, but I really love the overall silhouette of this doe. Down to our 2-year-old, really balanced doe. She's not the longest doe in this lineup. Really love the head and breed character about the head that we see on her, beautiful color. Tremendous attachments on this mammary system. Just a very well put together 2-year-old. She's allowed to be small. Ubers are some of the smaller. They're one of the smaller breeds. For our champion today, I think it's between the 2 older does in this lineup. We are seeing the most capacious doe being this 4-year-old doe, and she also has a lot of strength in general appearance when you're looking at that point of elbow, the slope of rump. And I really believe she's the deepest body doe in this class. And for those reasons, we are going to go with our 4-year-old as the champion.
This is our champion lineup for the selection of senior champion Nigerian Dwarf Doe. Starting down here with our 2-year-old milker. Appreciate the length of body we're seeing on this doe, the dairy strength, strength in the area of general appearance, particularly about the back and rump. Coming up to our 2-year-old or 3-year-old doe, appreciate the strength in the area of mammary system on this doe, coupled with strength in general appearance and dairy strength. Coming up to our 4-year-old doe, appreciate, again, we're talking more about general appearance, but the back and rump on this doe, I appreciate her width from thurl to thurl, her length from hips to pins, and her rear leg angulation as well, along with body capacity. Coming up to our aged doe, appreciate the dairy strength on this doe. She is angular throughout, very long-bodied. Also appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance. You notice her right when she walks into the ring. Of these 4 does, I think our competition is going to be closest between our 3-year-old doe and our aged doe today. While one, I think, has some advantage in the area of dairy strength, I do feel the other also excels in dairy strength in her own right. She creates a pretty solid dairy wedge when we talk about that combination of dairy strength and body capacity that I feel the other doe is just lacking maybe a bit in. I also feel one of these does has the advantage in the area of the mammary system, capacity in relation to size, age, stage of lactation, more height and fullness in the area of the rear udder, which contributes to balance when viewed from the side. And so for that reason, our 3-year-old doe is going to be our champion. We brought out our second place 3-year-old doe for the selection of reserve senior champion Nigerian Dwarf. I appreciate the general appearance we're seeing on this doe, her length and levelness across the back, her correctness in the area of feet and legs, correctness in the area of the front end assembly. I also appreciate her mammary system. I think she's very correct in the area of the mammary system. Would like to see a bit more capacity, but in relation to stage of lactation, I think she's doing just fine. Appreciate extension of forudder into the body wall. Appreciate her balance between the halves that we're seeing today. Our competition, again, is going to be closest between our aged doe and our 3-year-old doe. I think it's a little bit closer. Our aged doe has maybe some advantage in the area of dairy strength. We talk about length of body. But when we talk about dairy strength, we're also talking about, like, there's a strength component. There's a combination of dairy strength and body capacity that creates this wedge, and I've mentioned that a few times today. I think one of these does that just a little bit better. While I would like to see a bit more capacity in both of these does, I do feel that it's for her balance between the halves that we're seeing today, for her correctness in the area of the forudder, extension into the body wall, combined with correctness in the area of general appearance, and this combination of dairy strength and body capacity that our 3-year-old doe is going to be our reserve champion.
In ring A in the Oberhausley breed, our champion and best of breed came out of the 4 to under 5-year-old class. It was entry 1317. Laserbur's Chant Miss B Nobility, exhibited by Brittany Preen of Pueblo. Congratulations, Brittany. The reserve champion came out of the does 5 years and over. It was entry 1319. Laserbur's HF Misguided, also exhibited by Brittany Preen. Brittany, again, congratulations. Moving to ring B, for the Nigerian dwarf breed, the champion and best of breed animal came out of the does 3 to under 4 years old. Entry 1176, LZK Acres Sugar Toast is the goat's name. It was exhibited by Casey Kwong of Berthoud, Colorado. Casey, congratulations. The reserve champion came out of that same class. It was entry 1586. Almar Acres Virginia Wolf, exhibited by Julia Dunbar of Sedalia, Colorado. Julia, congratulations to you.
Okay, so starting out our talks with this yearling group, one is placing over 2 for an advantage today in Memory System. Teats pointing more correctly downward than the doe here in 2. She's showing more definition and separation between the udder halves than the doe standing right behind her. This is a little bit shorter doe, but she's very balanced. I really love the general appearance on this doe. As she moves about the ring, she levels out really, really nicely. She also has an advantage in general appearance when you're looking at the rump. More ideal slope to that rump from hips to pins than the doe here in 2. 2/3 in her turn, an advantage in Memory System, this time in the fore udder. You're seeing more extension, more overall area of attachment in the fore udder than the doe standing here in 3. She's yielding to the medial suspensory of this third place doe. Also an advantage in general appearance. A doe who's smoother over the back and the dorsal processes. She's smoother at the point of shoulder than the doe here in 3. Got a really leggy, open 3-year-old doe. I really appreciate that length of bone that she shows. I think she's probably got the most length of bone of any doe in this class. So really like to see her as she continues to fill out.
In ring A for our Toggenburg does 1 year to under 2, first place, entry 1411. Hidden Meadow Shenanigans is the goat's name. Nicole McChesney is the exhibitor. Second place, entry 1412. JNL JA Sarah is the goat's name, also exhibited by Nicole McChesney. And third place, entry 1302. Sweet Bees Sylvia, exhibited by Aaron Cornett. In ring A, we move to our Toggenburg does 2 to under 3 years old, and we'll start our Oberhausley show with 2 to under 3-year-old single entry in our B ring.
Single entry 2-year-old to start our Oberhausley show. Appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance, about the back and rump, strength in the area of the front end assembly, body capacity, very deserving of her blue ribbon. We'll see her back out in champion lineup.
First place in our Oberhausley 2-year-old class, entry 1046. Lazaber's No Name is the goat's name. Tony Wells is the exhibitor.
This is our class of 3-year-old Oberhausley milkers. Our doe at the head of the line will also be our first udder. 1/2 for her advantage in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing a bit more height and fullness in the area of lateral attachment over our doe in 2. Also seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength and general appearance. She's longer bodied, a bit more angular throughout. Bit sharper in the area of the withers over our doe in 2, more smoothly blended. In the area of general appearance, advantage in the area of the front end assembly. Again, sharper in the area of the withers, more smoothly blended in the area of the withers, longer, more nearly level across the back, more level from thurl to thurl as well over our doe in 2. 2/3 for her advantage in the area of general appearance in her own right. Seeing an advantage again in her turn in the area of the back and rump. She blends a bit more smoothly at the junction from the neck into the area of the withers over our doe in 3, again in her turn. Also seeing some advantage in the area of the mammary system today. Our doe in 3, however, shall be commended for her feet and legs, particularly her angulation from hock to pastern.
Okay, so this is our group of Toggenburg 2-year-olds. Are they 3? 2. Okay, perfect. 1 is placing over 2. It's an advantage in mammary system. When you're putting your hands on these 4 udders, this doe has, basically in the middle of the 4 udder, you're just feeling more capacity there. Less of a pocket than the doe standing here in 2. Standing back behind them, you're seeing more fullness at the top of the rear udder, a more securely attached rear udder with more uniform depth and width to that mammary when viewed from behind. She's also a little bit straighter from hock to pastern than the doe here in 2, a little bit leaner about the neck. Both of these does are very, very strong though. Really appreciate this extension to brisket that we see on this doe here in 2. 2/3 in her turn mammary system. Doe being more balanced both in front and behind the leg, more extension and capacity in that 4 udder than the doe here in 3. When we come to this 3rd place doe, she's just beautiful body style on this doe. Just immediately caught my eye. She's a very powerful, a very deep body doe. Would love to see this mammary kind of catch up with the rest of her. Beautiful top line, beautiful depth of body. She just looks like a dairy doe standing here. She's placing over the doe behind her for an advantage today in general appearance. She's standing when it comes to her pastern. She's standing on a stronger set of rear pasterns than the doe here in 4. She has a more ideal slope to the rump from hips to pins in this 4th place doe. She's deeper in body capacity. She's got a little more extension to the brisket. Doe here at the back of the line, appreciate this mammary system capacity. Would like to see, that 4 udder meet the body wall, from side to side, but she's very productive. All 4 of these does are just beautiful to look at. Beautiful general appearance on all of them.
This is our class of 4-year-old Oberhausley does. 1/2 for her advantage in the area of general appearance, about the back and rump. She's longer from hips to pins, more level from hips to pins over our doe in 2. Also seeing some advantage in the area of the feet and legs, advantage in the area of dairy strength. She's being a bit more open in her ribbing, more angular throughout over our doe in 2, longer bodied. In the area of the mammary system, we're seeing more appropriate udder texture over our doe in 2. Also seeing a bit more capacity in relation to size and age, and a bit more balance when viewed from the side because of that. Not to take away from our doe in 2, would like to see a bit more evidence of productivity on her, but I do appreciate her strength of pastern.
In ring B, in our Oberhausley show, 3 to under 4-year-olds, first place, entry 1314, Les Obers Rug MiG 4570 Piggles, exhibited by Brittany Prian. Second place, entry 1315, Les Obers Rugback 1251, exhibited by Brittany Prian. And third place, entry 1316, Les Obers Rug VIV, exhibited by Brittany Prian. And in our 4-year-old class, again Oberhausley's, ring B is first place 1317, Les Obers Chant Miss B Nobility, exhibited by Brittany Prian. And second place, entry 1318, Van Just DM Naya, exhibited by Brittany Prian. In ring A, in our Toggenburg 2-year-old class, first place, entry 1303, Evie's TG Wallflower, exhibited by Aaron Cornett. Second place, entry 1332, Royal, exhibited by Timmery Foster. Third place, entry 1413, Mountain Pines Fame Star, exhibited by Nicole McChesney. And fourth place, entry 1414, Mountain Pines Fame Rue, exhibited by Nicole McChesney.
Okay, these are our 3-year-old Toggenburg milkers. Beautiful class of milkers here. One is placing over 2 for an advantage today in Memory System. When you're looking at the placement of the teats as they move around the ring, you're seeing basically her teats are not rubbing against her legs. So teats pulled in more towards the center, more properly placed on the floor of that mammary than the doe standing here in 2. Looking at the rear udder, you're seeing more height to the rear udder and a more secure attachment in that rear udder than our second place doe here. When you come to body capacity, this is a deeper body doe. You're seeing more depth in that rear rib than the doe here in 2. 2 over 3 in her turn, Memory System wise. In the fore udder, you're having more smoothness in the attachment to the body wall. You're having teats of a more ideal shape, size, delineation than the doe in 3. And then general appearance wise, when you're looking at the front end and the point of shoulder, you're seeing more smoothness at the point of shoulder with more depth into the brisket. Doe here in third, really appreciate the tremendous capacity that she's showing, especially in that fore udder. She's working very hard. She's very sharp. She's very angular when you look at the withers, when you look at the neck of this doe. So really appreciate her for that.
It's our class of aged doe Oberhasleys. Our doe at the head of the line will also be our first place udder. 1 over 2 for her advantage, largely in the areas of general appearance and dairy strength. Also seeing some advantage in the area of body capacity, general appearance. We're seeing an advantage in the front end assembly. Blends more smoothly at the junction from the neck into the withers, more smoothly blended throughout. Advantage in the area of the rump being longer from hips to pins and slightly more level from thurl to thurl, more level from hips to pins. In body capacity, she's fuller in the area of the crop, deeper at the point of elbow over our doe in 2. In the area of the mammary system, again, 1 over 2 is going to be our mammary placement. We're seeing a bit more balance between the halves today, a bit more extension of fore udder into the body wall. Not to take away from our doe in 2, I do appreciate her angulation in the area of the stifle.
Okay, so we have a single entry here in the 4-year-old Toggenburg milker group. A doe with a beautiful shape to the mammary system. You're looking at the definition to the medial, the placement of the teats, the fore udder extension and capacity from side to side, that beautiful rear udder attachment. This doe is just very correct and well put together. A tremendous depth of body. She's so deep in the heart, the barrel, nice extension to the brisket. Just really a lot to like about her.
In ring B, our Oberhasley does 5 and over. First place, entry 1319, Les Obers HF Misguided. And second place, 1320, Van Just OBRH Lesby Diva. Both of these animals exhibited by Brittany Prian. In our ring A, Toggenburg does 3 and under 4. First place, 1415, Mountain Pines Rock Jillian, exhibited by Nicole McChesney. Second place, 1304, Sweet Bees Percy, exhibited by Aaron Cornett. Third place, 1455, Kiowa Creek Lily Fair, exhibited by Davany Hastings. And in our Toggenburg does 4 and under 5, first place, 1416, J&L Favorite Peach, exhibited by Nicole McChesney.
Okay, so we have a single entry here in the age Toggenburg class. This doe's holding up very, very well. She's still very strong on her feet and legs. Really love the depth of body that she's showing. When you look at the mammary system of this doe, beautiful definition to the medial suspense. When you're looking at the medial suspensory ligament, really nice uniform depth and width to that mammary when viewed from behind. She's just a very solid, balanced doe.
And our Toggenburg does 5 and over. First place entry 1305. Sweet Bees Link to Madness, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado. In ring B, we have our Oberhausley first place animals for the selection of Grand Champion and also Best of Breed. And in ring A, we'll have our Toggenburg first place animals in the ring for the selection of Toggenburg Grand Champion and Best of Breed.
This is our champion lineup for the selection of senior champion Oberhausley, starting down here with our yearling 2-year-old milker. Appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance, about the back and rump. She tracks very nearly level as she moves about the ring. She has a sturdiness to her that I appreciate. Also appreciate her body capacity, particularly her width in the area of the chest. Coming up to our 3-year-old doe, appreciate the general appearance and the dariness on this doe. Her profile stands out in this class. Appreciate her length from hips to pins, strength in the area of the back. She's nearly level as she moves about the ring with less tendency to break in the area of the chine or loin. Also appreciate her mammary system as well. Coming up to our 4-year-old doe, appreciate the capacity in the area of the mammary system that we're seeing today. Would like to see a bit more balance between the halves, but in the area of general appearance, appreciate her rump. She's very square when you look from the rear, length from hips to pins, width from thurl to thurl. Coming up to our age doe, appreciate again the general appearance on this doe. See a trend in the area of the back and rump. Appreciate her front end assembly as well, her body capacity, smoothness of blending from the neck into the withers, extension of brisket on her. In the area of the mammary system, I do feel in this class she has the strongest mammary system, the most strongly attached mammary system. We're seeing the most balanced mammary system between the halves, the most extension of foreudder that holds snugly against the body wall. And so it's for that advantage in the area of the mammary system and her strength in the area of general appearance and body capacity that she'll be our champion today. Closer placing, I think, for the selection of reserve champion. We've brought out our second place age doe. While I do appreciate the mammary system we're seeing on this doe, I would just like to see a bit more extension of foreudder, more smoothness of blending of foreudder into the body wall to be a bit more competitive today. But I do appreciate her strength of pastern. I do appreciate her rump as well and her strength in the area of general appearance. So of these 4 does, I think one has the advantage specifically in the area of dairy strength. She's longer bodied. She's more angular. She ties in general appearance, body capacity, I think, quite well. Would like to see a bit more capacity, height and fullness in the area of the rear udder today, but I do appreciate her balance. I do appreciate her extension of foreudder relative to the class, and so for that reason, our 3-year-old doe is going to be our reserve champion.
Okay, so here's our Toggenburg lineup, and it's a beautiful lineup today. We have an age doe here at the top of the class, and she's so balanced. Looking at this mammary system, uniformly deep and wide, nice definition to that medial, tremendously deep-bodied doe. Doe right behind her, much of the same story along this lineup. Beautiful top lines, tremendous rumps, really appreciate the extension to the foreudder that this doe showcases and the extension to the brisket. Doe right behind her, beautiful shape, size, delineation to those teats. Tremendously deep-bodied doe. Down to this 2-year-old, really appreciate this 2-year-old. You're looking at the balance of the mammary. She's very balanced both in front and behind the leg. Tremendous extension and smoothness in that foreudder attachment. She's very correct about her general appearance, but you're still seeing that nice depth and refinement in the flank. And then down to our yearling doe, again, strong in general appearance, beautiful shape to this mammary system. So really, I think it's a very close group of does here. They're all very, very strong. They're all very well put together. I am going to come up to the top of the line and use this age doe. It's because of the depth of flank that she's showing over the 2 does behind her. She's stronger in those rear pasterns than the doe standing immediately behind her, with more capacity in this mammary over the 2 younger does. Okay. That was a single entry, so I think it gets a little bit closer when we move that doe out of the lineup. Really appreciate the 2-year-old doe. However, I am going to come back up and use this 4-year-old doe. She wasn't quite as strong on her pasterns, but the general appearance, the extension to the brisket, and the overall shape of this mammary, just gorgeous on this doe. So she's going to be our reserve.
All right, in the ring A that you just saw finish, the grand champion and best of breed animal was the doe that was in the 5-year and over class. It was entry 1305. Sweet Bees Link to Madness is the goat's name. Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado is the exhibitor. Aaron, congratulations. The reserve grand champion came out of the does 4 years but under 5. It was entry 1416. J&L Favorite Peach is the goat's name. Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado is the exhibitor. Nicole, congratulations to you. Moving back to ring B, we had our Oberhausley class, and the grand champion and also the best of breed animal out of ring B also came out of the does 5 years and over. It was entry 1319. Les Obers HF Misguided, exhibited by Brittany Prien of Pueblo, Colorado. Congratulations, Brittany. The reserve champion came out of the does 3 to under 4 years old. It was entry 1314. Les Obers Rugmig 4570 Piggles is the goat's name. Brittany Prien of Pueblo, again the exhibitor. Congratulations again, Brittany.
Okay, so we have a breeders trio here, and they're a single entry, but a group that could stand some competition. We have an age doe, a yearling, and a 3-year-old. Nice spread of ages, but a lot of consistency when you're looking at the shapes of these mammaries. Really appreciate the width over the rump, the flatness of the rump from throw to throw on all 3 of these does too. So really a lot to like in this group.
Breeders Trio, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado.
Okay, so we now have a quartet, a group of 4 for our dairy herd. Again, doe with a beautiful shape to that mammary, and that is consistent amongst all 4 of these does. Appreciate the slope of rump, the flatness of the rump. So again, a very strong dairy herd here.
Dairy herd in the Toggenburg breed ring A, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado.
Okay, so we have a single entry here, but a doe that could stand some competition. Really well attached mammary system. I really appreciate the tremendous length on this doe. Very tons of long bone pattern, very evident throughout on her. Body capacity wise, she's got tremendous length to that barrel. So very leggy, very open doe. Excited to see her as she matures.
First place in our AOP breeds yearling class, entry 1588. Prairie Dust Farm, Sin City is the goat's name. Timory Foster is the exhibitor.
This will be our class of yearling milker Toggenburgs. Our doe at the head of the line will also be our best udder. 1/2 for her advantage in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing a bit more appropriate delineation of teats directly beneath the udder floor. We're also seeing more extension of forudder that blends more smoothly into the body wall. More correct medial suspensory ligament as well, which contributes to the appropriate teat delineation. Also seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength. She's more open, more angular throughout over our doe in 2. Seeing some advantage in the area of general appearance as well, particularly about the back and rump. 2/3 for her advantage in her turn in the area of general appearance, more correct in the area of the feet and legs specifically, more appropriate angulation from hock to pastern, a stronger set of pasterns today. She also tends to trek more correctly forward as she moves about the ring. in both the fore and rear. Also seeing an advantage in the area of body capacity today, being fuller in the area of the crop, deeper at the point of elbow over our doe in 3. Not to take away from our doe in 3, I would like to see how she matures, appreciate her mammary system, particularly her height of rear udder attachment.
All right, in our Toggenburg yearling class in Ring B, first place, entry 1411, Hidden Meadow Shenanigans, exhibited by Nicole McChesney. Second place, entry 1412, J&L J.A. Strawberry is the goat's name, Nicole McChesney, again the exhibitor. And third place, entry 1302, Sweet Bees Sylvia, exhibited by Aaron Cornett of Pueblo, Colorado.
This is our class of 2-year-old Toggenburg does. I did know that 5 minutes ago, I promise. Our doe at the head of the line is also going to be our best udder. When placing over 2 for her advantage in the area of the mammary system, particularly when viewed from the rear, I appreciate her fullness of lateral attachment, her fullness of rear udder as well over our doe in 2. We're also seeing an advantage in the area of general appearance, about the back and rump, about the feet and legs, over our doe in 2, and some advantage in dairy strength as well, open inner ribbing when you get your hands on her. 2 over 3, closer placing, I think. Really, we're seeing an advantage in the area of the mammary system, particularly about the rear udder. Height and fullness in her own right of lateral attachment, balance between the halves when viewed from the rear. Also seeing a bit of an advantage in the area of general appearance as well, particularly about the feet and legs. Stifle angulation, also seeing a bit more body capacity, more powerful front end assembly, width of chest, extension of brisket, fullness in the area of the crop over our doe in 3. 3 over 4, I really like this doe in 3. Appreciate her balance when viewed from the side in the area of the mammary system. Extension of foreudder blends smoothly into the body wall, balance between the halves. Also seeing some advantage today in the area of general appearance as well. Not to take away from our doe in 4, I would just like to see a bit more capacity in relation to her size, age, and stage of lactation to be a bit more competitive with the rest of the class. But I do appreciate her rump. I appreciate her length from hips to pins, her levelness from throw to throw. Kind of creates the nice square shape we like to see.
Okay, so we have a nice group of AOP 2-year-old milkers. Again, just a really productive, stylish group of does out here. We are placing 1 over 2 for an advantage today in mammary system. When it comes to foreudder capacity, she's yielding a little bit to the placement of the teats and the teats pointing more correctly downwards, and our doe here in second. This doe has an advantage in general appearance. As you're watching them move about the ring, she's got a more ideal slope to the rump from hips to pins. She's tighter at the point of elbow. She's smoother from the neck down into the point of shoulder than our second place doe. She's also showing more straightness in those rear legs when you're looking from hock to pastern than our doe here in 2. 2 over 3 in her turn in mammary system. Doe showing more smoothness in the foreudder attachment. When you're feeling that foreudder, you're feeling the capacity all the way across the center and the side. She's yielding to the capacity of the doe standing behind her. She also has an advantage in general appearance. When you're looking at those rear legs, you're seeing a little more width between the hocks. You're seeing her standing a little bit straighter on those pasterns than the doe here in 3, and then a little more extension to the brisket than this Saanen doe here in 3rd. 3 over 4 an advantage in her turn when it comes to mammary system. A doe showing more capacity in the rear and the fore than the doe standing here in 4th. She's more uniformly deep and wide when viewed from the rear in the mammary system than our 4th place doe. She also has an advantage when it comes to body capacity. She's longer through the barrel. She's deeper in the barrel. 4 over 5 an advantage, and when it comes to dairy strength, this doe showing a little more substance of bone than the doe here in 5th. She's smoother from the neck down into the shoulder. When it comes to the mammary system, having more symmetry between those mammary halves. And then when you're looking at the pastern, she's standing stronger and has a more medium length of the pastern than the doe standing behind her. Would like to commend this doe here at the end of the line. She's really deep in her barrel, so really appreciate that nice depth to the rear rib that we see.
This is our class of 3-year-old Toggenburg milkers. Closer placing, I think, between 1 and 2. One's going to place over 2 today, though, for her advantage in the area of the mammary system. Our doe at the headline will be our best udder, largely for her height of rear udder, an extension of lateral attachment over our doe in 2. We're also seeing some advantage in the area of general appearance about the back. She does trek more nearly level across the top line as she moves throughout the ring with less tendency to break in the area of the chine. We are also seeing some advantage in the area of body capacity today, being fuller in the area of the crop over our doe in 2. 2 over 3 for her advantage in her turn in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing a bit more, again in her turn, extension of lateral attachment. Also very much appreciate the balance we're seeing when viewed from the side over our doe in 2. Also seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength. This is a doe, I mean, you talk about strength and dairiness, strength kind of attached to this long, level, flat bone pattern, and I think she exemplifies that quite well when you get your hands on her. Very open in her ribbing, buttery soft texture to her mammary system, without sacrificing any of that body capacity, that strength, that powerful front end assembly that we're seeing in this doe. Not to take away from our doe in 3, I do appreciate, again, in her own right, her dairy strength, particularly her angularity about the rear rib.
Okay, so we have a single entry here in this 3-year-old milker class. This is a Saanen doe. And when you look at the rear udder of this, so you're seeing the tremendous width to this mammary. It's very well attached. There's very little movement as she moves about the ring. Tremendous depth to that rear udder as well. This is a very deep-bodied doe. Appreciate that depth at the heart, the depth in the barrel. She's very sharp and angular as well. So really appreciate how productive this doe is.
Single entry 4-year-old doe. We'll see her back out for the selection of champion here in a bit. Appreciate the mammary system on this doe, particularly when viewed from the profile. Big fan of her very smoothly blended forudder that extends deeply into the body wall. Also appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance, about the back and rump and about the feet and legs. Deserving of her blue ribbon. We'll see her back out.
Okay, so I have a single entry here in this 4-year-old class. Really appreciate how well this doe is put together, general appearance-wise. Really nice levelness over the top, and then she's very uphill from the hips up to the withers. Mammary system-wise, very smoothly attached rear udder. Appreciate how smooth the rear udder and the forudder as well attachments are in this doe. Very, very snugly attached mammary system. Very little movement as she moves about the ring.
It's a single entry age doe. We'll see her back out once again for the selection of champion here in a moment. Appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance, about the rump, particularly length from hips to pins, width and levelness from thurl to thurl as well. Levelness from hips to pins. She just track very smoothly as she moves about the ring. Also appreciate her strength of feet and legs, particularly being the age doe. Appreciate her strength of pastern, body capacity. She's a powerful front end. Appreciate her depth at the point of elbow that carries through the rear rib. So deserving of her first place.
Okay, we have a single entry here. This is a 7-year-old Nubian doe. Really appreciate the top line and the rump on this doe. She's very uphill from the hips up to the withers. She's got a beautiful slope to that rump from hips to pins. Really nice rear legs as well. When you're looking at the incurvingness from the pins down to through the stifle and the hock, really straight from hock to pastern as well. So general appearance is very, very strong on her. finishing out our AOPs with 2 Alpine yearlings. We are placing 1 over 2 with an advantage today in general appearance. A doe showing a more medium length to her pastern than the doe standing behind her. When it comes to the front end, showing a little more depth and extension into the brisket than the doe here in 2. And when you're looking at the point of elbow, you're seeing her being tighter at the point of elbow than the second place doe. She also has an advantage in body capacity. She's deeper at the heart, also in the barrel than our second place doe. Would like to commend this doe on her dairy strength. Our second place doe, she is so long and lean about the neck. Stepping back behind her, you're seeing how open she is up into the thighs and the escutcheon. So 2 very stylish yearlings here.
This is our lineup for the selection of champion Toggenburg Senior Doe. Lots of consistency that we're seeing through the line. Lovely does. Lovely does. Starting down here with our yearling milker, we just need to see a little bit more age of maturity on this doe to compete with the rest of the class, but I do appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance. I appreciate her strength in the area of the mammary system, her balance when viewed from the side. Just would be excited to see her as she matures. Coming up to our 2-year-old doe, again, appreciate the general appearance on this doe, seeing lots of consistency in rump quality on all of these animals. Appreciate her height of rear udder attachment, her balance between the halves, and balance when viewed from the profile as well. Coming up to our 3-year-old doe, appreciate her strength again in the area of general appearance, about the feet and legs, particularly when we look to the area of the mammary system, height and fullness of lateral, or extension of lateral attachment, completeness of lateral attachment, and strength of medial suspensory. Coming up to our 4-year-old doe, appreciate again strength in the area of the mammary system, a little bit different mammary system than our doe and our 3-year-old doe, but again in her own right, appreciate that extension of lateral attachment, balance between the halves and balance when viewed from the side, extension of foreudder, smoothness of blending into the body wall. Coming up to our aged doe, appreciate again the general appearance on this doe, strength in the area of feet and legs, particularly pastern, which is especially worth noting on an aged doe. I think she's 5. Also appreciate strength in the area of front end assembly on this doe, body capacity, extension of brisket, width in the area of the chest. Of these does, while all lovely, I think our competition is going to be closest between our 3-year-old and our 4-year-old doe. There's trade-offs between the two, and I kind of stared at them for a while. I think one has the advantage in the area of general appearance. She's just more smoothly blended throughout. She is a bit wider in the area of the rump. She's a bit more level from thurl to thurl, wider from thurl to thurl over the other doe. We're also seeing an advantage in the area of body capacity, being fuller in the area of the crop. She blends more smoothly at the junction from the neck into the withers. Deeper at the point of elbow, especially. Deeper, carrying that depth deeper through the rear rib over the other doe. She's a bit wider in the area of the chest, showing us a bit more extension of brisket. When we look to the area of the mammary system, I think there's trade-offs between the two, but I do feel one of these does has a forudder that extends further into the body wall, which contributes to balance when viewed from the side. I think one has the advantage in terms of tightness of lateral attachment, completeness of lateral attachment, but I do feel it's for her advantage in that forudder, coupled with her advantage in the area of general appearance. While she does yield some in the area of strength of pastern, there is an age difference to consider. Advantage in the area of body capacity and in dairy strength that we're going to come up to our 4-year-old doe for the selection of champion. So she was a single entry, so we're going to consider the remaining does for the selection of reserve champion. I think our competition at this point is going to be closest between our aged doe and our 3-year-old doe, not to take away from our younger does, just would like to see a bit more maturity on them. But I do feel that our 3-year-old doe has the advantage in the area of the mammary system with lateral attachments that just hug a little tighter to her hind quarter. I think she's a bit more balanced between the halves when viewed from the rear. She's showing us a bit more balance when viewed from the side as well, and you couple that with her strength in the area of general appearance that she'll be our reserve champion.
Okay, so So we have our AOP lineup, starting out with this 7-year-old Nubian doe. Beautiful top line on this doe, and she levels out so nicely over the rump when she moves about the ring. Really like that smoothness in the fore udder. Doe right behind her, beautiful rear udder attachments. Really smoothly attached rear udder on this doe. Really appreciate that extension we see into the brisket. Down to our 3-year-old Saanen doe. When you look at the mammary system capacity, this doe just has the most capacity of any doe in this lineup. She's more capacious in the fore, especially than the other does standing around her. Really appreciate the levelness that you see over the loin and the chine as she moves about the ring. Down to this Alpine 2-year-old doe, a really balanced doe. You're looking at the general appearance. She is really level when you're a nice levelness to the rump when you're looking from the hips to the pins. And then mammary system, she's not the most capacious in this group, but I really appreciate the balance to this mammary, both in front and behind the leg. I think it's a nice proportion of what you should see when you're looking at the profile of a doe. Really nice smoothness of attachments on this doe. And then down to our yearling, she's much like the doe standing in front of her. She's really strong in general appearance. You look over the back, you see how long she is over the chine, the loin, long into the rump, body capacity, just tremendous length to this barrel. A really nice smoothness of attachment. You know, she doesn't have the most capacity, but she looks very appropriate for a yearling. And then we have our junior doe. She's very stylish. She's much like the style of the 2 does standing in front of her. Really strong in general appearance, love the body capacity. So for me, it's really between these 3 does in the middle. You know, the Nubian, I think, has really beautiful attachments. Appreciate the depth of body, the top line when you're looking at the general appearance. Doe right behind her, very productive. You're looking at the rear udder, although we don't get, you know, as much of this balanced side profile view. When you're viewing it from behind, it's really well attached, really high into that rear udder. And then we have our Alpine doe, who's not as capacious as the older does, but the general appearance on this doe is very strong. So for our champion today, I think when we narrow it down even more, it's really between these 2 does in the middle. We have the more productive mammary on this doe, but she's yielding to the strength of pastern. She's yielding to the slope of rump to the doe standing behind her, who has very nice attachments, but she's yielding to the body capacity of that Saanen doe standing in front of her in the dairy strength that we see in that doe. So I think for the overall balanced view of the goat when you're looking at the general appearance, and she's still quite capacious in that body capacity in relation to her size. You know, she's really deep at the heart. We are going to go with this 2-year-old doe. It's for the advantage she has in that mammary system attachment, general appearance, when you're looking at the back and the rump. Okay, so we bring that second place 2-year-old out. This is a really nice doe as well. Appreciate the depth of body, and she was actually first udder in that class. Although she's not extremely capacious, you know, she's just a 2-year-old. This mammary system is just beautifully shaped. I love the definition to the medial on her. However, for the capacity that she's showing, she's the most capacious doe in this lineup when you come to the fore and the rear udder. And when you come to the rear udder height, she has the most width and most securely attached rear udder. The highest rear udder in this group. That's going to be our Saanen doe here in the middle, the 3-year-old.
A point of logistics, exhibitors, before I announce the 2 champions from the different rings. After the AOP finishes in ring B, there'll be a 15-minute break to allow you guys to milk your goats out for best doe and show. Again, a 15-minute break after the AOP finishes in ring B to milk your goats out for best doe and show. All right, in the ring that you just saw, ring A, in the AOP division, the grand champion and best of breed animal came out of the 2-year-old class. It was entry 1423, Prairie Dust Farm Ryland is the goat's name. It was exhibited by Timory Foster of Chirac, Colorado. Timory, congratulations. The reserve champion came out of the 3-year-old class. It was entry 1398. Wheeler Farms Gandalf Rhubarb is the goat's name. Jerome Wheeler of Westcliff, Colorado is the exhibitor. Jerome, congratulations to you. Then in ring B, for the Toggenburg breed, the champion and best of breed came out of the 4-year-old class. It was entry 1416. J&L Favorite Peach is the goat's name. It was exhibited by Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado. A belated congratulations, Nicole. The reserve champion came out of the 3-year-old class. It was entry 1415. Mountain Pines Rock Jillian, exhibited by Nicole McChesney again of Fairplay, Colorado. Once again, a belated congratulations, Nicole. That's our last breed for ring A. We'll do the AOP class in ring B, and then we will do best doe and show. And once again, there'll be a 15-minute break to allow you exhibitors with the best of breed animals to milk out for the best doe and show competition. I'm sorry, we do have one group class in ring A. And then you also will want to get a slip of paper before you leave today from Mary to make sure you can get your animals out of the gate.
Okay, so best udder, a little different than the class winners. We're going to go with the Sonando, and it's because of the width that she has at the top of the rear udder. If I picked the second place, it would be this Alpine because of the shape, size, and how uniformly deep and wide she is. She doesn't have quite the capacity of the Sonnen, but we really appreciate the Sonnen for the beautifully attached mammary. So we have single entries here for Get a Sire, 3 different dams represented here, and I really appreciate the definition that you see in the medial in all 3 of these does. Just beautiful balance and symmetry between the udder halves. And then looking at the general appearance, you're noting that the rumps are wide, that they're flat from throat to throat, they're really long. I also appreciate the tremendous length of body we see on all 3 of them. So for those reasons, they are going to be our Get a Sire and our best 3, and they're well worthy of a blue ribbon.
The best udder of breed for the AOP division was on the reserve champion animal. That animal was entry 1398, Wheeler Farms Gandalf Rhubarb, exhibited by Jerome Wheeler. Congratulations, Jerome. Senior Get a Sire was exhibited by Timory Foster of Chirac, Colorado.
Single entry, first freshening alpine to start our AOP division. Appreciate her strength in the area of the back and rump, length from hips to pins. Also appreciate her mammary system, balance when viewed from the side, extension of forerudder, blend smoothly into the body wall, balance between the halves when viewed from the rear. We'll see her back out in champion lineup.
Ring B, first place in our 1 year to under 2-year-old doe class, entry 1588. Prairie Dust Farm, Sin City is the goat's name. Timory Foster is the exhibitor.
This is our class of 2-year-old AOP milkers. Closer placing between 1 and 2 for a lot of different reasons, but 1/2 today largely for her advantages in dairy strength and in body capacity, or in dairy strength. But she is also going to be our first place udder, and I'll explain that here in a second. But general appearance, we're seeing strength in the area of the back and rump over our doe in 2. She tracks very correctly, or very smoothly, as she moves about the ring. We're also seeing advantages in the area of feet and legs. Strength of pastern. She treks more correctly forward as she moves about the ring. More appropriate rear leg angulation as well when we look to the area of the stifle. We're also seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength. She's more angular, more open, made particularly evident when you feel her mammary system, mammary texture here. Advantage in the area of body capacity. She's fuller in the area of the crop, deeper at the point of elbow over the doe in 2. Mammary system placing 1/2. While she may not have the capacity that we're seeing in our doe in 2, I do think she has a more appropriate arch to her escutcheon. She has more completely extended lateral attachment. She's also more balanced, I think, when viewed from the side. I do appreciate her extension of foreudder. While she does yield some to the doe behind her in that capacity, it still contributes to the balance that we need to see for her to place over our doe in 2. 2 placing over 3 for her advantage in her turn in the area of the mammary system. I do very much appreciate the foreudder on this doe. Also appreciate her height of rear udder attachment, with the width between the hocks as well that she's walking in today. In the area of general appearance, I also appreciate her back and rump as she moves throughout the ring. She is a bit longer from hips to pins over our doe in 3. 3/4 for her advantage, largely in the area of dairy strength. This is a doe who's much more open in her ribbing. When you get your hands on her, you can feel it. She's a bit more angular as well. Also some advantage in the area of the feet and legs, staying in the category of general appearance. She's more appropriately angulated. She also tracks more correctly forward as she moves throughout the ring, particularly when looking to the rear. This black doe over this other black doe, for her advantage in the area of the mammary system. We're seeing a bit more balance between the halves today, a bit more extension of foreudder that blends more smoothly into the body wall over this doe. Also seeing advantage in the area of general appearance, again in her turn in the area of the feet and legs, particularly regarding strength of pastern. Not to take away from this doe at the end of the line, I do appreciate her length from hips to pins.
In our AOP division, does 2 to under 3-year-olds. First place goes to entry 1423. Prairie Dust Farm Ryland is the goat's name. Timory Foster is the exhibitor. Second place, entry 1396. Wheeler Farm Remy Clementine, exhibited by Jerome Wheeler. Third place, entry 1422. Prairie Dust Farm Ragtime, exhibited by Timory Foster. Fourth place, entry 1430. Cold Spring Mary's Ori, exhibited by Jen Dionisio. And fifth place, entry 1429, Pleasant Grove A.K. Sriracha, exhibited by Jen Dionisio of Pueblo, Colorado.
Single entry 3-year-old. I will see her back out for the selection of champion. Appreciate the mammary system on this doe, her height and fullness of lateral attachment, fullness of rear udder, balance between the halves, strength of medial suspensory ligament, balance when viewed from the side. Appreciate her extension of foreudder, along with her general appearance, particularly in the area of the rump, length from hips to pins. We'll see her back out in a bit.
In our AOP does 3 to under 4 years old, first place, entry 1398. Wheeler Farms Gandalf Rhubarb is the goat's name. Jerome Wheeler is the exhibitor.
single entry 4-year-old. This is our first Nubian of the AOP show. Very exciting. Appreciate the general appearance on this doe. Profile when viewed from the side, pretty striking. Length across the top line, long and nearly level as she moves throughout the ring. Also appreciate her strength of feet and legs, particularly her rear leg angulation, strength of pasture, and she does trek very correctly forward as she moves throughout the ring. Also appreciate her strength in the area of the mammary system, particularly her height of rear udder and lateral attachment. So we'll see her back in a bit.
In our AOP does 4 years to under 5 years old. First place, entry 1092, Briargate Miranda, exhibited by Caitlin Hardesty of Boulder, Colorado.
Single entry aged doe. Appreciate the general appearance again on this doe. Length and levelness across the top line. She's very striking when viewed from the side. Appreciate her rear leg angulation. Also appreciate her dairy strength. Open, angular, lovely udder texture. We'll be happy to see her out in a bit.
In our AOP doors 5 years and older, first place, entry 1091. Briargate Salsa is the ghost name. Caitlin Hardesty of Boulder, Colorado, the exhibitor.
This is our bonus class of dry yearlings for today. One placing over 2 for her advantage in the area of general appearance. Appreciate her strength in the area of feet and legs. She's standing on a shorter set of pasture, and she also treks slightly more correctly forward as she moves throughout the ring. Also appreciate her advantage in the area of body capacity, being fuller in the area of the crop, deeper at the point of elbow, wider in the area of the chest, walking with more width between the hocks today over our doe and 2. Not to take away from our doe and 2, I do appreciate her levelness from thurl to thurl.
Once again, after this selection of AOP champion in Ring B, we'll take a 15-minute break to allow you exhibitors to milk out your best of breed animals. We'll take a 15-minute break to let you milk out your best of breed animals. We'll plan to be back in the Ring A between 12:15 and 12:20. Thank you.
Okay, this is our lineup for the selection of AOP Senior Champion. Lots of quality out here. I appreciate all of these does and all the different styles that we're seeing of goat today. Starting down here with our dry yearling. Lovely dry yearling. Would love to see her mature moving forward. Appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance. Just would like to see, those 35 points that you get in that mammary system to be a bit more competitive here with these older ladies. Coming up to our yearling, appreciate her strength in the area of the mammary system, extension of lateral attachment. We have 3 similar alpines here in type, similar at least between the 2 that have a mammary system. Extension of lateral attachment, height of rear udder, extension of fore udder that blends smoothly into the body wall. Also very much appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance, particularly about the rump. Coming up to our 2-year-old doe, again, appreciate strength and general appearance on this doe. Body capacity, she's very dairy, very angular, open in her ribbing. Appreciate her mammary system as well. Again, that extension of lateral attachment. Coming up to our 3-year-old doe, tremendous mammary system on this doe. Appreciate her height and fullness of rear udder, extension of lateral attachment, balance when viewed from the side, balance between the halves when viewed from the rear, strength of medial suspensory ligament. I do appreciate, when considering general appearance, her back. She does track very nearly level as she moves throughout the ring. Coming up to our Nubian doe, this is our 4-year-old. Appreciate the dairiness on this doe, correctness in the area of feet and legs, angulation about the stifle, angulation from hock to pastern. Also appreciate her rear udder as well, height of lateral attachment, extension, and fullness of rear udder as well. Coming up to our age doe, very dairy. I very much appreciate her length of bone, length of body, her beautiful top line when looking from the profile. She walks very gracefully as she moves throughout the ring, long and level. At 7 years old, that's quite the accomplishment. Looking at these does, I do think our competition is going to be closest between probably our 2-year-old doe and our 3-year-old, not to take away from the quality that we're seeing in these older two Nubian does here. Between these 2, I think there's a lot of trade-offs. I think our Saanen has the advantage in the area of the mammary system. She is going to be our best udder today. I appreciate her strength of medial suspensory ligament, her extension of fore udder, balance when viewed from the side, balance when viewed from the rear. We're just not quite getting that in our Alpine. But I think one of these does, or Alpine doe, has the advantage in the area of general appearance, particularly about the feet and legs, about the front end assembly. We're seeing an advantage in the area of dairy strength. She's more angular throughout, more open in her ribbing. We're also seeing an advantage in the area of body capacity. And I say that not because our Saanen doe is obviously bigger, right? But when we're talking about body capacity, we're looking at depth at the point of elbow, a depth of chest, fullness in the area of the crop, and we want that to carry appropriately through to the rear rib, and I think our Alpine is doing that just a bit better today. So when you add up points, the mammary system is obviously worth 35 points, but you have lots of other points to consider as well. And I think when you look at the numbers, I do think that it's for her advantage in general appearance, about the rump, about the feet and legs, about the front end assembly, and it's for her advantage in the area of dairy strength. She is much more open in her ribbing, much more angular when you get your hands on her. For her advantage in the area of body capacity, particularly at that point of elbow, that our Alpine is going to be our best in show, or our champion today. Excuse me. We're bringing out another Saanen doe. This is our second place 2-year-old. Similar in type to our 3-year-old doe. Appreciate the strength in the area of the mammary system we're seeing in her today, particularly when considering balance when viewed from the side. I appreciate her extension of fore udder. It blends smoothly into the body wall. Appreciate her height and fullness of rear udder as well. But when you consider age of maturity and you look at both mammary systems side by side, I think one just has a bit more height and fullness to the rear udder. One's just a bit more balanced when viewed from the side, and when you couple that with similar styles in terms of general appearance, similar levels of dairy strength and body capacity, our 3-year-old doe is going to be our reserve champion today.
Attention exhibitors, we are on a 15-minute break at this point to let you milk out your best of breed animals. So we will resume our show in Ring A with the best doe and show selection at 12:25. 12:25 we'll resume our show with best doe and show selection in Ring A. In our AOP division in Ring B, the grand champion, also the best of breed animal, came out of the 2-year-old class. It was entry 1423. Prairie Dust Farm Ryland is the goat's name. Timory Foster of Chirac, Colorado is the exhibitor. Timory, congratulations. The reserve champion and also the animal with the best udder for the AOP division came out of the 3-year-old class. It was entry 1398. Wheeler Farms Gandalf Rhubarb is the goat's name. Jerome Wheeler of Westcliff, Colorado is the exhibitor. Congratulations, Jerome.
Okay, so here is my best senior doe and show lineup. But before I get through them, I just want to say thank you for having me. Everyone has just been tremendous. I got to judge the youth show yesterday, and your children are so sweet and so polite. And you really just have a wonderful group of people here, a wonderful group of exhibitors. Thank you to Mary and to Vicky for keeping everything running. It's just been a really great show, and Michelle and Greg. I know you were not my secretary, but you were a great announcer today. So I just really enjoyed my time here. So this is our lineup, starting off with this La Mancha doe. She's a 5-year-old doe. Tremendous length when you look at her. She's so long in her barrel, and that length extends to the rump. She's got lots of long bone pattern. She's deep. Mammary system wise, she was extremely capacious, and she is milked down so well. You feel the pliability to that mammary. Nigerian right behind her. We have a 3-year-old doe. And when this doe was full, she had tremendous width to that rear udder. She's milked down really, really nicely. Appreciate the sharpness of this doe. When you look at the withers, when you look at the incurvingness of the thigh, down to our Oberhausley doe. When you're looking at the general appearance, she's tight at the elbow. Body capacity, she's deep. Really love that slope of rump on this doe. Again, she's milked down really beautifully. And then down to our 5-year-old Toggenburg. This doe had a beautiful shape to the mammary. When you looked at the placement of the teats, they were placed very correctly on the floor of that mammary. Beautiful shape, size of teat. Really nice overall shape to the rear udder when you saw how uniformly deep and wide it was. General appearance is very strong on her as well. And then down to our kind of our baby of this group. This is a 2-year-old Alpine, and when you think of a long-bodied animal, this doe really exemplifies that. She's so long in her barrel. Really love that about her. Mammary system wise, she's very appropriate for a 2-year-old. Beautiful attachments on this mammary. Really appreciated the fore udder, which was had lots of extension, was really smooth in its attachment. For our best senior doe and show, I think it's really between this Tog and this La Mancha, and both just extraordinary animals. The La Mancha doe, I think, is probably the longest body doe, the deepest body doe, probably the most capacious mammary in this lineup, though. So we are going to go with the La Mancha, and she's going to be our best senior doe and show.
Best doe and show from Ring A for the 2025 Colorado State Fair was the La Mancha. It was entry 1418. Argonis Coyote is the goat's name. Nicole McChesney of Fairplay, Colorado is the exhibitor. Nicole, congratulations.
So much of the same group, but we now have a Saanen 3-year-old doe who had a tremendous capacity in that mammary system. When you saw the rear udder, so wide, so deep, just beautiful attachments, very little movement as she moved about the ring. She's milked down really, really well. And so we are going to use this Saanen as our best udder today.
The best udder in Ring A for the show was out of the AOP division. Was entry 1398. Wheeler Farms Gandalf Rhubarb is the goat's name. Jerome Wheeler from Westcliff, Colorado is the exhibitor. Jerome, congratulations. We'll move now to our best doe and show competition for Ring B.
I'm going to try not to blow your ears off with if I walk in front of that. Okay. This is our lineup for the selection of Best Doe in Show in the B Show. To kind of echo what Ashley was saying, thank you all for having me. I had a great time. This has been super fun. It's been lovely meeting all of you. It's been great. So starting up here with our La Mancha Doe, very dairy. Really appreciate her strength in the area of general appearance. Like long-bodied doe, angular throughout. Really appreciate her rump, the length from hips to pins, the levelness from thurl to thurl, and she does all of that without sacrificing body capacity. Appreciate the depth at the point of elbow that's carrying appropriately and deeply through to the rear rib, where we meet a very nicely, smoothly blended forerudder. Width of chest, powerful front end on this doe, extension of brisket. Coming back to the mammary system, she milks down quite lovely. Again, when you consider dairy strength, lovely mammary system texture. I've been very impressed with her today. Coming back down to our Nigerian dwarf doe, again, very dairy in type. Appreciate her sharpness at the withers. Body capacity, again, deep at the point of elbow that carries nicely through to the rear rib. Appreciate her strength in the area of feet and legs. And her mammary system as well. She's very high in lateral attachment. Full in the area of the rear udder, which made her striking to view from the rear, and she did milk down quite nicely as well. Coming back to our Oberhausen doe, appreciated the strength in the area of general appearance on this doe, particularly in the area of the back. She's very long and level as she moves throughout the ring. She placed where she was largely for her advantage in the area of the mammary system over the rest of her competition today. I appreciated the height of rear udder attachment and the extension of forerudder that blended smoothly into the body wall, which contributed to some of the balance that we saw when she was full. Coming back down to our Toggenburg doe, I really appreciate the general appearance on this doe. She's striking when viewed from the profile. Strength in the area of the front end assembly, foreleg placement directly beneath the withers, strength in the area of the rump, very square, length from hips to pins, width from thurl to thurl, levelness from thurl to thurl. Also appreciated her strength in the area of the mammary system, smoothness of blending of the forerudder. Also appreciated her extension of lateral attachment as well when she was full, and she did milk down quite nicely. Coming back to our Alpine, she placed where she was largely for her advantage in the area of general appearance, and also in dairy strength and body capacity over the rest of her competition. So very much appreciate the dairy strength that we're seeing in her, the length throughout, the angularity, and you couple that with general appearance, the length of back, the levelness across the top line, length from hips to pins, makes her lovely to watch on the move. Also appreciate her strength of feet and legs, and her extension of lateral attachment as well when viewed from the rear when she was full, and she did milk down quite nicely. Of these does, I think competition is going to be closest between our Toggenburg doe, our Nigerian dwarf doe, and our La Mancha doe. Different reasons, different styles of body type that we're looking at, but I think one of these does has some advantage in the area of general appearance, particularly about the back, about the feet and legs. When you consider rear leg angulation in some respects, I don't feel she has the level of dairy strength that she needs to be able to compete with the other two does, and so that would bring us over here to our La Mancha doe and our Nigerian dwarf doe. And I think while we're seeing advantages here in both of these does in dairy strength, one of them does have some advantage in the area of general appearance, and one has a bit more advantage in the area of dairy strength. And you kind of couple that with body capacity, her depth of body, her depth through the rear barrel, her width of chest. And our best doe in show today is going to be our La Mancha.
While we switch out the AOP for the best udder, if you guys could stay kind of close, I've got some premier breeder and premier exhibitor announcements after this selection.
Best doe in show for Ring B, 2025 Colorado State Fair, was the La Mancha. Entry 1418, Argones Coyote, exhibited by Nicole McChesney of Fairplay. Nicole, congratulations.
Okay, we've brought out our Sonnen. She was our reserve champion at AOP and our best udder for AOP. She milks down lovely. You get your hands on her. It's soft. It's smooth. Milks down to nothing. When we saw her mammary system when it was full, it's very high attachment, extension of lateral attachment, strength of medial suspensory ligament, balance between the halves when viewed from the rear. It's pleasant to look at. When you look from the side, balance when viewed from the side, extension of foreudder was quite lovely. It blended very smoothly into the body wall. So she's definitely a contender, I think, for the best udder in show. When we're looking at the rest of these does, we've seen them before. Again, milked down quite nicely for all of them. But I think our closest competition to the Sonnen is going to be the La Mancha. Again, if we remember back to when she was full, lovely foreudder, blended smoothly into the body wall. Appreciated the extension of lateral attachment, strength of medial suspensory ligament on her as well. So when you consider these two does kind of next to each other, I think one of them milks down just a little bit better. One of them was just had a little bit higher lateral attachment, and I think it extended just a little bit further. In her area of escutcheon. And so for that reason, our Sonnen doe is going to be our best udder.
All right, I have La Mancha. The results for Premier Breeder and Premier Exhibitor. Our La Mancha Premier Exhibitor is Aaron Cornett. The La Mancha Premier Breeder is Sweet Bees. Our Oberhausley Premier Exhibitor. And there's not an Oberhausley banner because we put them out in themselves. So we've got Brittany Preen as our exhibitor, and Christine Butler is the breeder. Yeah, it's fine. We don't have one to give to her, but so for the Nigerians, the ribbon first, sweetie. The premier exhibitor for Nigerians is Jen Denisio. Our premier breeder is Casey Kwan. Toggenburg premier breeder and premier exhibitor is J&L. I'll tell you later. And then the AOP, both premier exhibitor and premier breeder, is Timmery Foster. Just a reminder that you do need a release from me in order to leave the grounds. They will not let you out the gate without your release.